All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're really excited that you're here. Today is the fourth presentation in our strategy session. We're first going to hear a little bit from Good Food Accelerator, hear from ILFMA, and then we'll move into the meat of the presentation with Libby Irvin on how and when to expand or think about expanding your businesses. So if you would use the chat to tell us where you're from and your name and maybe what you produce or make, that would be great so that we can get to know you a little bit during this call. So I'm going to turn it over to Anthony Adams from the Good Food Accelerator to tell us a little bit about their work.
Hey everybody, Anthony here again. If you joined in the last couple of meetings, I'm the program coordinator with Good Food Accelerator. We are a nonprofit located in East Garfield Park, out on the west side of Chicago. We do business training for food and beverage entrepreneurs, and we're expanding to kind of help out the farmers, makers, producers, really side of the industry. So we do in-person trainings. We do virtual remote ones like this series that we have going here. Feel free to look us up on the website that I will drop in the chat in a moment here. But really just providing business training over, all sorts of your needs that, that we can try and help out with. So yeah, thank you all for joining this call here. Happy to see you on, happy to be involved with ILFMA, and hope to see you all at programming in the future.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, here it is. All right, so here we are. We've had 4 weeks of classes and we're really excited for today. But just so you know, as these presentations become available, they will be at ilfma.org on our YouTube page. And then we will have the handouts or presentation materials that our speakers provided on the ILFMA resource tab. So you may want to go back and look. I know that class number 1 was not recorded. I think we just got the recording for class number 3 up. And as soon as this one is available, we'll get it on the website as well. As I said, this is a little bit of our order of business today. A little bit about the Illinois Farmers Market Association. We are not-for-profit as well. And our main mission and goal is to help Illinois farmers markets go to their next level of excellence, whatever that happens to be. And we do that by supporting farmers market managers, vendors, producers, and the people that participate in farmers markets with training and best practices so that they can reach their maximum potential. The other thing we do is we try and stand in the gap and identify issues that our farmers markets and vendors face and try and address those in partnership with other organizations. And then we also just do everything we can to promote farmers markets and the vendors that serve our communities as much as we can. We do a lot of training, as I said, and really encourage you to consider joining us at Everything Local. It is the local Foods Conference for Illinois. It's held in Springfield over a 3-day period at the end of January. If you happen to be a member of the Illinois Farmers Market Association, which is relatively inexpensive, then instead of paying $225 for the 3-day conference, you pay $100. So it's a huge cost savings if you're a member of ILFMA. There are, I think, 7 different tracks that have 6 different speaker tracks within them. So if you can think about the magnitude of all the different topics and subjects that are going to be presented, I think it's going to be a wide variety, and I think you should be able to find something that would be of your interest. It's also an incredible networking opportunity. I know that we have, I think, 100 exhibitors as well. So there's, again, opportunity to explore and understand maybe some next level things for you or your business. We offer a certification course for farmers market managers. So far, we think we have, I think it's 54 certified farmers market managers across Illinois. It's great for beginning market managers, but it also can help existing market managers kind of shore up some of their best practices, make sure all their documentation is intact and working for them, as well as thinking about, funding and marketing and all the fun things that go into putting on a successful market. That starts February 3rd. It meets on Monday evenings for about 2.5 hours over an 8-week period. We are going to be hosting some winter market meetups. If you would, check in with our ILFMA website. Up in the top right corner, there's a tab that says news, and you can sign up there for our newsletter so that you are always aware of whatever it is that ILFMA is doing. And that, of course, is free. If you are a member of ILFMA, there are some perks, but like I said, maybe the main thing is make sure you start by signing up for the newsletter. All right, we have lots of resources, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing in relationship to farmers markets. So do check out that resource tab as well. One of the things I do like to bring up is that we are part of a state level, and actually it goes beyond state to many parts of the nation, local food database with our partner Market Maker. It offers you an opportunity to become a part of this huge system of local food producers and businesses across Illinois. It's searchable, it's free, and it's up to you to populate. So once you create a profile, for example, within Market Maker, you're the only one that can access it. You're the only one that can keep it up to date. But it provides you an opportunity to be in a searchable database, maybe of people that are looking for your product, or maybe for you to look for places that might be interested in carrying your product or giving you an opportunity to sell. It's really an exciting opportunity, and I really encourage you to do that, especially now at this time of year when things are kind of maybe at a little slower pace in market world, and gives you a chance to be all ready for 2025. The other thing that's very exciting is that the Illinois Department of Agriculture is launching Illinois grown products as a market label identity. So a marketing label identity, so that you can, within Market Maker, say you would also like to be identified as Illinois grown. Criteria is, do you use at least one Illinois grown product in your final product, or do you actually produce in Illinois? Either of those things, you can apply to be accepted as an Illinois grown vendor. And again, that narrows your search so people can find you a little bit easier. And we know in this day and age, people really are looking for local. So Illinois grown, I think, is pretty self-explanatory to those people looking for local. Our resources, well, this is the map we keep. Right now, there's a winter market list on there. We try and keep it up to date with whatever is happening out in the world. So I don't want to take a lot of time. I want to give Libby the opportunity to talk about scaling up your business, how and when. I will let Libby introduce herself, but I'll also tell you that ILFMA is very excited to have Libby presenting today. She is the president at the Illinois Farmers Market Association. She has worked in farmers markets, and she and her husband own Glacier's End, and she's going to tell you a lot more about that. So I'm going to just turn it over to Libby. If you'd like, go ahead and use the chat to ask questions, and I'll try and monitor it and make sure that we have an opportunity to ask Libby those questions before the end of the hour. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Janie. I am not on camera today. I'm in a conference or a pod thing here at another meeting. So some technology issues, so I can't be on camera. But I'm going to share my screen with everybody. And let's see. Okay. As Janie said, my name is Libby Irvin. My husband and I own Glacier's End here in Southern Illinois. I am the ILFMA president, and I also work with FoodWorks. I'm the assistant director. So I run the Link Hub down here and supporting about 9 or 10 local farmers market with SNAP and Link. I've been a farmer's market manager for a few years, and have really just been in and out of markets in every capacity. So as I go through things today, this has kind of been our path, our experience. And I will say that there's no one size fits all. It can be different for everybody. So please keep that in mind. This is a picture of our farm, our sign that we put up. This is a picture of our dog. So this is kind of an outline of today. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of our story and beginning, things that we have found to be helpful by getting involved, kind of our path of growth, some very helpful tools that we found along the way. The bulk of this is things to consider when you're thinking about how to scale up, how to move up, and where we are currently, and then questions and answers. So this picture right here, this is of our dog Yeti. He's a farm dog. This was our first event that we ever did. It was a fair and festival in a little town. And I will say we had no idea really what we were doing. So please keep this in mind as we go through it and you see some of the other pictures, because that is a part of growth, is kind of learning and building your business, your image, as you go. So let's see, our story, my husband's from Southern Illinois. I'm from Southern Indiana. We both moved to Chicago. We're there about 20 years, met each other, got married, and then moved back to Southern Illinois to take over my husband's grandfather's farm. So this is a picture of our farm. We had no farming background, no farming experience, and definitely no farming knowledge. But we planted an orchard and then realized it was going to take about 7 years for that to grow, and we needed to figure out something to do. So the first thing that we found out, we did a farm beginnings program to kind of teach us about farming, but also how to look at it as a business, which was very helpful. And I think that that's probably a lot of what you guys are doing now with the Good Food Accelerator. So I commend you for that. Our first field day was on cottage food, and we realized that that was something that we could do pretty easy and pretty quickly. Our second field day was on elderberry, and that's the main thing that we grow on our farm. So we really started looking around our farm to see what we had and what things we could use. We planned on planting vegetables, but our first market was in the winter and we had nothing ready. So we started realizing we could use flowers, we could use herbs. We do a lot of foraging from our farm, so we incorporated that into what we do. So this kind of moves along. In the upper right, this is our first market that we did. So you can see from the first picture to this, we kind of honed in a little bit on our setup. I think we had 3 products our first market season. It was a winter market. We did elderberry syrup, we did hickory syrup, and some pickles, and we had eggs too. And then these other 2 are elderberry patches that we first did. The top one is when we planted it. The bottom one is when it started flowering and berrying. And then the bottom right is our expansion on the farm. So this was probably 4 years later. We did some raised beds, a grow house, and a berry patch. So just kind of figuring out as we went, adding more things, expanding the variety of what we did. So when we started thinking about growth, our thing, especially coming into farming, to not knowing farming, not knowing people in the area, was to get involved with everything that we could. We got involved with Farmers Market Association for trainings, webinars, events. Extension is always a good resource because they put out a lot of webinars and events as well. They did a lot of work with the cottage food guide. Farm Bureau is always a good one. Like Janie mentioned, they do the Everything Local conference. Illinois Stewardship Alliance has been a big help for us as well. to our growth. When we first started, the cottage food guide really only had a few things that you could do. And by getting involved, we were able to use our voice to work to update that guide to it became there was only a few things you could not do. So this is a picture of us. When the Home to Market Act was getting passed, our picture was actually on the bill, and I presented virtually to the Senate about the importance of this, of what it could mean for small businesses, for farmers, for communities, for markets. So again, that has been just by getting involved for us to learn, to educate, has been a big way for us to be able to grow kind of our market, our business, and our brands. So our path of growth, you can look at the top one. This was a picture probably about 2 years ago. So comparing from that first picture I had to this, we really kind of looked at what we were doing from year to year and decided, okay, we want to change up our look. We want a more sleek look for marketing. So we switched up our jars and our bottles, our signage, how we, just our image at markets. So our path of growth was from markets. I think we started out the first year doing probably about 3 markets. And then the next year we did 5 markets. So I think over the years, this is now the start of our 7th year. I think we've done about 15 different farmers markets. We're in a small area, but there's a lot of markets around the area. So that was one path of growth for us. The other was doing like fairs and festivals that reaches kind of a whole new crowd and whole new kind of area. And we have really expanded across the state with the hopes that at some point when we cut back from doing all the traveling, we have a customer base for shipping. When COVID hit, a lot of our markets closed down or we were not able to get into them. So we just opened a little farm store, and that's the picture in the bottom left. We converted a little square of our garage into our farm store, and had people coming to us. That started working well, and then we realized we were kind of at max in our kitchen in our home. So we needed to find another solution, and it was either looking at something on our property or finding a commercial kitchen, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but we went that path. So we moved into a commercial kitchen and now have a brick and mortar store. We've also recently added a liquor license to our business, which opens up a lot of new doors. And then we are also working on obtaining a wholesale license so we can have our stuff in some stores around the state. Couple helpful tools that have been useful to us along the way. Like I said, the cottage food guide. And there's probably been some updates since then. I just used this picture. The complete guide to home canning. This has been very helpful for anybody doing cottage food. And like I said, Extension has a lot of these resources on their website as well. And then now we are working on our preventative controls, and that's something that's needed to move into wholesale. And it's more about processes and documentation and things like that. But there's a lot of resources that are out there if people are doing cottage food going down this path. And I know Illinois Stewardship Alliance is going to be working on kind of a track for this of moving from cottage food and moving up. So some things to consider when thinking about scaling up your business. So the first I would say is, really think about what you want your business to look like. Are you wanting it to be a part-time or full-time job? Are you looking at for it to be your main income? Are you wanting to go around the state? Are you wanting to expand throughout the United States? What do you want that to look like? And one thing I will say, and I'll address it later too, is, when you're thinking about your path for your business, please keep in mind that flexibility is really important, because when I look back on our path the past 7 years, it's not been a straight path. It's been curvy, windy road. We've changed things up from where we thought we would be, but we're actually coming back closer to where we thought we would be. Um, the more kind of rigid you are in what you want it to be, it may be a little bit more of a challenge, because if you're flexible, then that gives you the variety and the ability to pivot when you need to. Also thinking in terms of timeframes for your goals. Is it something that you can do immediately? Is it something that's in 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatnot? I think that helps. That was helpful for us to kind of break it down and to see and figure out like what we wanted this to look like and how we were going to achieve those goals. And again, as I mentioned just above, goals are great, but being flexible is going to be a big part of, really, I think, being a small business, being a farm, being a market, anything like that. Another one of the really important things that I will mention a couple times today is record keeping. Um, Use your data, it will be helpful. I track all of our sales from our markets and events, so I can look back from year to year, month to month. If there's anything special or that kind of stands out about it, like this market, it was awful weather and it was rainy, so that was why no one was there. I mean, I track stuff like that. I'm a metrics person, so I find that helpful. But that data can help you make informed decisions. Um, we're currently at a point right now where we're growing, and at the end of this year, I really want to go back and assess all of our markets, all of our outlets, and see what's working and what's not, because I know our time is very, very valuable and very crunched at this point. So I think that something has to go. I just don't know what. So I'm going to use this data to help me make that decision, because I have 7 years of data that I can use. Other things to consider when thinking about scaling up, funding. This is a big one that I'm doing a few classes on right now. There's different thoughts on funding. You can use your current income to drive growth versus like banks and loans versus grants versus other options. I highly recommend, and again, not everything applies to everybody. This has been our path. My thing is, I want to do what we're doing. I want it to be a sustainable business. I want us to grow, but I want us to grow slower so we can handle it and I can make sure that it's going to last over time. Growing too much too soon can be very easy because you start getting orders coming in, customers, but that can lead to trouble and burnout. Probably in the 7 years that we've been doing this, I've seen at least 10 businesses that were doing this before us or have come in since then that have grown too big, too quick, have taken on too much money, and they're no longer in business. And that's awful to see, especially if it's a farm, if it's a small business. These are people's livelihood. I will say, when you're looking to grow, one of the main things is to look to see, is there a demand? Do you have a customer base? If you need a commercial kitchen, getting finances to build one, that's great, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have that demand to produce that much more. So please keep that in mind. We have chosen really to use our income to drive our growth. So we have not taken out any loans. We have not gone into debt, because again, we just felt like that would probably put too much strain on us and we might not be able to handle it. Another thing is about adding more markets. Look around to see what is available. Are there other markets that you could possibly get into? And if so, what is that going to look like? You're probably going to have more staff to help you at some point. You may be spending more in gas mileage, you may be spending more in vendor fees. So really thinking about what can you handle? And again, is there a demand for your product? If you're a baker and you're looking to get into other markets, look at those markets and see, if they have 10 other bakers, there's probably not a need for that market. But are there other places that you can go? And I don't have this in here, but one thing to keep in mind, especially if you're doing cottage food, looking at other farmers and other people to partner with them or do collaborations can be huge. For us, we found ourselves kind of in a bind where we could really only grow so much, but we weren't able to keep up with the demand. So then we started really reaching out to other farmers in our area to see, did they have produce that was available that we could use? And that has been huge for us. That's probably been one of our biggest ways that we've been able to grow. Because now we have partnerships, and I counted one time, we've sourced from probably at least 50 farmers. And we have different farmers growing peppers for us, or we're getting berries from, or different things like that. And that's a great partnership because it gives them a guaranteed source of income. And then it helps us because we have additional produce available to turn into products. Again, kind of keeping in mind things that go with that. That's the upside of that. The downside is we have, I think at this moment, 12 chest freezers that are full of produce and items, and we are at capacity. Those are full, and I need more to be able to source for more people, but we have huge electric bills. So again, kind of, keeping that in mind that if you can go down this path of growth, there's going to be other things to think about. Another way to think about when scaling up is moving into other avenues. Online is a great thing to do, but you're going to have shipping, you're going to have more things involved with that. And again, you also need a demand. You need a customer base to be able to ship. Just because you think you can list something on Facebook and sell it, doesn't mean that there's a demand for it. Fairs and festivals, this is another good way. And I don't know, certain cities, townships, counties may have different regulations, but for us, that's been a great thing because, it's not always the same people that are going to come to the farmers market that are going to go to these. And we've really found after doing all kinds of fairs and festivals over the years that our niche is really kind of like antique or junk festivals where people are looking for that stuff, and our products really sell well there. We've also had some where we've done that it's more of kind of a flea market type of event, and people try to kind of barter prices with us, and we find that is not our event. We do not sell well there. We do not do well. Another avenue to think about when moving into is retail and wholesale. So with our commercial kitchen that we're in now, we have our kitchen in the back, and in the front we have our store. So we can sell our stuff. We're not wholesale certified yet, so our stuff cannot be sold in other people's stores or businesses, but we can sell in ours. And then wholesale, there's different classes you have to take. You go through different licensing, different requirements of what that looks like. But then that would allow you to sell to stores, and to just have more of your stuff out there and more visibility. Another thing when thinking about scaling up is adding help. We tried for the longest time to just do it with ourselves, my husband and I, and then found we just were at capacity. So then it's reaching out to people. And what does that look like? You know, do you pay them per hour? Do you pay them a flat fee? Do you treat them as a contract employee? Are you paying payroll taxes? Um, with adding help, the thing I will say is to keep in mind that nobody will sell your product like you will. So if you're going to add help, you need to put the time into educating them about your product, educating them about your mission, and educating them about how to sell something. One of our best employees that we have is a retired lady who has done fairs and festivals. She does arts and crafts, but she really knows kind of the culture of markets and fairs and festivals and knows how to sell. And she's been a great addition to help us. We've had some other people that we've brought on that have not really worked out. Um, so again, just keeping in mind if you are bringing people in to help you, that you do want to spend the time with them so they can sell your stuff. Adding products and new lines. I've counted over the years, you know, we do things like jams and jellies, hot sauces, pickled items, shrub drinking vinegars, extracts, sauces, seasonings. You know, we keep adding new things, but it also puts a strain on us because I felt that we've kind of spread ourselves too thin. So again, kind of going back to using your data to help make informed decisions. At the end of every year, I go back and look to see, you know, what all products did we do? What really sold well? What didn't? We also look when we make products, you know, what's the retail value of this? And then compare it to the time we spent on it, any ingredients, you know, all the inputs and looking at the outputs. And found that some of our stuff that we thought was a big seller really wasn't when we looked at all the time we had to put into it. So we had to make some decisions, you know, are we okay with this being a little bit lower profit margin than what we wanted? Or, you know, is it something that needs to go by the wayside? Some additional things to kind of look into that I mentioned. So insurance, you know, when we were doing cottage food, you know, we were able to get insurance for that. When we moved into our brick and mortar, it required a different insurance. It required more. We just got our liquor license. That requires a huge insurance and liability. Also thinking about different taxes, you know, if you do fairs or festivals or markets in different counties, they maybe have different tax rates, different tax liabilities for your reporting. Also licenses, you know, what do you need to sell this product here? What do you need to sell it there? You know, what is your liability insurance? What does that look like? So again, when thinking about scaling up, there's all these different pieces to the puzzle that can all go together. So for us, this has kind of been our process for expansion. Again, I mentioned when we were we were cooking in our home, and we did that for about 4.5 years, and had really just reached the capacity. We couldn't produce anymore in our home kitchen. So we started thinking about, do we want to build something on our property or find it somewhere else? And it really kind of became that our home was like a food processing facility and we needed it back. So we started talking to our local health department for guidance. And I think if any point you're looking to expand your business and you're doing anything with food, you should absolutely be talking to your health department to see, are there different licenses, regulations? What does that involve? We also started talking to local municipalities for regulations and codes. And the codes department, especially if it's within a city limit, they're going to have pretty specific requirements and regulations. But the biggest thing for us was talking to others that have gone through this process to really consider all the options before making this huge decision. And I'm glad that we did that because we really thought we were going to build a commercial kitchen on our farm and talk to some people that had either done it or were in the process of doing it. And let's say we thought it was going to be $80,000. Well, they informed us that they were at like double that and not done yet. We also had somebody come out and talk to us, and it was just going to require a lot more to do. So we chose to find a building in a city. So we're in downtown Marion, right off the square, that's going through a huge revitalization. So for us, it was the cost. It was a much cheaper upfront cost. You know, if we stay in this building over time, it'll probably be more. But our thought is if we're still here in 4 or 5 years, then we're probably ready to buy something or to expand. Privacy was another reason. We found that when we had our little store in our garage, that there was not a lot of privacy. We had people coming to our home at all hours and all days to get things, even though we had posted hours. So we really wanted that separate division. Location and kind of visibility and accessibility was a huge thing for us because we're on a farm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of if you build it, they will come. We weren't sure that anybody was really going to come out there. So we chose to be in a city instead. Again, more access to resources in the city versus rural. I will say we have not regretted where we're at now because the city that we're in, the downtown, the mayor, everybody has been so supportive. And you know, I know that's not always the case, but they want to see small businesses succeed, and they want to work with us. The other reason we chose to do the rental off farm was future considerations. And this was in talking to somebody that had built something on their farm and then went to sell it. And we're finding that, you know, somebody might want the farm, but they don't need a commercial kitchen. They don't need a building. And they were really running into an issue with selling their property. So we kept that in mind. Some limitations and workarounds that we found of being off farm is our commercial kitchen did not have a hood, a vent, or sprinkler system in it. So we were told we could not use our stove or our oven. In this picture I've showed down here, we used it as a table. We've actually removed it because it kind of hurt us to see that there's this awesome stove here that we couldn't even use. And so our workaround in talking with the codes department is we now use induction burners. Again, that kind of limits what we can do. But for us to be able to use that stove, we would have had to put in the hood, the vent, the sprinkler system throughout the whole building. We don't own the building, so we weren't going to invest $100,000+ in it. Our landlord didn't want to invest that, so we had to come up with another solution. So it's really forced us to kind of be creative and think outside the box, which we've kind of always done. But again, that was the downside to what we're working with. Where we are now, so as I mentioned, you know, we were running into an issue with how much we could grow. And so we've started sourcing from other people. So now we really focus in on growing what we want. My husband loves growing hot peppers for his super hot sauces. Elderberry is still the main thing. There's not a lot of people doing elderberry in our area. We've really started focusing on perennial berries, more kind of perennial things. So we are in our commercial kitchen and have our retail space. These are some pictures of our store, picture of our outside of our shop. As I mentioned, we recently added a liquor license. And this has kind of been our path when we found our commercial kitchen space. We weren't 100% ready for that. I thought probably in 6 months, but we found the ideal space. So we got it and we made it work. With a liquor license, again, we probably weren't ready for about 4 months, but they had one license that kind of fits what we could do. So we decided, let's do it. In our space, we also host meetings, trainings, and events. We did a cottage food and beyond field day. We've hosted a couple legislative roundtables with senators and representatives. We've started doing some catering on the side and catered our new City Hall's open house. We're looking at doing a lot more collaborations for the coming year, such as monthly classes, parties, and events. We've also done further reach outside of Illinois, kind of fairs and festivals. And then we're working on our wholesale license as well. And this is a picture again of the outside of our shop. It was all brick and we painted it to kind of stand out to make our mark on it. Again, we're right off the square, so we wanted something to be able to draw people in. But again, that's kind of been our path. And like I said, everybody's is different. It's not a one size fits all. So again, when you're kind of thinking about scaling up, think what you want it to look like, and then kind of work it back from there. What does that look like? What does that mean? What does that entail? I've got my contact information on here. People can always feel free to reach out or to give me a call or a text. I'm very happy to talk to people. That was one of the biggest helps when we started this process, was talking to others who have been through things, picking their brain, and really kind of just getting feedback on their process. You know, even if somebody's doing something completely different than you, there's probably something that you can learn from their experience. And I want to be kind of that help to help other people. So that's all I have. I don't know if we have any questions.
Well, Libby, thank you so very much. That was very, very helpful. And we really appreciate all the work you put into putting that together and articulating your journey over the last 7 years. There aren't any specific questions in the chat. So does anyone have anything they would just like to unmute and ask, or go back and use the chat to ask your question?
And I will say I've not had like any formal like business training or education. That's not my background really. I've ran businesses for other people. This is the first time my husband and I have kind of ran our own business. So as everybody knows, probably on this, as a small business owner, you kind of learn as you go, you learn from your experiences. So again, just when I go through all this, you know, this has been kind of our experience, but just hopefully sharing some helpful things that have worked for us and have not worked for us too.
There is a question. What will you use the liquor license for? Catering, local brews on tap?
Yeah, so we make syrups and shrub drinking vinegars that go very well in cocktails, mocktails, beverages. So now that we are in a commercial kitchen, we've been partnering with a lot of local restaurants and bars that use that as an ingredient in their drinks or their food. But we really wanted to be able to highlight the stuff that we do on our own. And when we first moved here, we wanted to first become a cidery. So we planted a lot of heirloom trees, apple, pears, stone fruit, things like that. The food business has kind of taken us off of that path from the liquor, but now we're kind of getting back into it. So with our license, we can do package carry out. So we'll do like hard to find ciders and stuff of other people's. We are going to build a little bar because we do some catering events. We do wedding showers, parties, bridal showers at the shop. But the cool thing with it that we found is we can do cocktails to go that are prepackaged and sealed. So my husband's been going crazy doing these wild infusions of stuff, and we can really showcase our beverages And we got our license 2 weeks ago, and it's been huge. And it's really kind of opened the door for us, for people that didn't know about us, or a market that we didn't really have, but now that we do. So I think we're just kind of figuring out what we can actually do with it. So long story short about the liquor license, sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. There is a new question. What have you done to retain your customers over time from your time doing farmers markets through having brick and mortar store?
Yeah. So, without our customers, we could not grow. We could not do what we're doing. Some of our stuff is very obscure ingredients. We've used sumac a lot from our property. Everybody down here thinks that it's poisonous. They don't realize there's a non-poisonous one. So we started off very early doing sampling at markets and events. So that helps people to see what our flavors are, what our tastes are. Um, we're not the best about marketing. We don't do like newsletters. I tried doing that, but it's just something that I'm not good about keeping up on. We do social media, but I think our products kind of just speak for themselves. And we find that, we do a festival in Frankfort, Illinois, every Labor Day weekend. That's a 5-hour drive from us. It's a little bit of a home turf for our Chicago friends and family. But now we have people from up there ordering from us for online. So we really value customer feedback and are always asking people, what were your thoughts on it? Please provide us, any feedback, any suggestions. Um, we do all different types of events, so trying to reach new people too. But we've had customers that have shopped from us from the beginning. So, a lot of it is telling our story and telling people how we got started, why we're doing what we do. And that really connects them and gets them interested and helps them to follow us and be a part of our journey.
That's great. Next question is, I'm a local loose tea business looking to partner with local farmers as well. Is there a particular way to approach local farmers and any associations to join?
I think markets, definitely looking at markets that you're in and getting to know vendors. That's just, for me, it's a good practice. I want to see what other businesses are in markets that I'm doing, but I also want to see, is there any way I can partner with them? We really just started reaching out to farmers that are growing some stuff that we're interested in and starting to have those conversations. And it started with a farmer friend that was saying they had a lot of waste at the end of each market or the market seasons. Well, as a value added producer, we don't need it to look pretty. I get it. They can't sell it if it's not pretty. We don't care. As long as it's not like gone bad, we're probably going to use it or freeze it and use it in the winter. So it was kind of a win-win for both of us. They were going to dispose of it. So now we've eliminated food waste. We're providing them with some income, and we have more product. In terms of organizations to find these, ILFMA again is a great one. Janie talked about Market Maker. You can find other farms, businesses in your area. And the other one is Stewardship Alliance, Illinois Stewardship Alliance. We've met a lot of farmers through there and have made a lot of connections that way as well.
Okay, thank you. And is there a certain type of liquor license you had to apply for? I sell alcohol infused candy and was told to look into a mobile liquor license.
When I was talking with our city, they had some ordinances and had just expanded that, I think, in April down here. So some grocery stores could sell alcohol, and doing that, they added a few more specific ones. So ours is a on-premise and package carryout. I forget what classification it is, but we were informed there was one left that fit kind of what we need. So I think it's going to talk to your county. I think it's usually the mayor is the liquor commissioner in each county. talking to them. I started doing research online, and it can be a very confusing path to finding information. So I just went and talked to our mayor and our city hall. And they kind of, they said, what do you guys want to do? We kind of described it, and then they said, you guys fit into this bucket. So again, I think that goes back to developing those relationships with people, because through that process, it's really strengthened our bond with our mayor and our city hall. And again, they've invested in the time in getting a business in there. They want to make sure that you're going to succeed. So they've been very helpful with us.
Okay, great. Market Maker, we actually have a downloadable app on our website for it, but it's only part of it. It's called the What's in Season app, and it does download all the data about local producers and farmers markets. But I'll put the URL. It's IL Market Maker, or IL Food Market Maker.org, I believe, is the parent organization. Or if you go to ILFMA on the Find a Market tab, you'll see our map says it's powered by Market Maker. And if you hover over that, the URL to the Market Maker link or to the Market Maker site will pop up. So the difficulty with Market Maker is that so much data, it is hard to put in an app. But like I said, we have some data from Market Maker in our app that's on our website, but I would recommend you go to just get in through a regular website to find and register your product or your business. All right. Any other questions? All right,